sorry.
I'm sorry that NFTs are securities. You can suck my little balls.
Gary Gensler here has fucked all of you over.
Listen, I just do what they tell me, the big banks.
He's attacking NFTs and all digital artists. That's why I'm supporting the Unfuck petition to stop Gary's assault on NFT artists.
I swear I'll change. I'll stop doing what the big banks tell me. I'm done being a dickhead. I'm done being a dickhead. I'm done being a dickhead. How did you get so many people to report me to the SEC hotline? And then you got people involved to make art from people's complaints? It's honestly amazing.
It's time for you to change, Gary. Stop thinking with money first and think with your heart.
I gotta get real. Because at the end of the day, my crypto is your crypto. And your crypto is my crypto.
My crypto's not your crypto.
Okay. Not even a little bit?
None of it. It's all mine.
Okay.
Hey, everybody. Happy Friday afternoon here in Australia, and thanks for joining us as always. It's a crypto happy hour with DeFi Down Under, and it's a great day. We got some green stuff going on and pretty exciting. So, Dozza, how you going, man?
G'day, True Blue. Yeah, I'm well, mate. Good to
Excited.
see you on a Friday, Arvo. Going to pop the cork.
Oh, no.
Yeah, good to see
and
43 and Ross Green
What's up?
there as well.
Yeah,
nice
yeah.
to meet you, Ross.
Guys.
Yeah, we got Ross here today. He's just surfaced himself on Twitter and been out there. I've seen him on a stream with Adam Stokes, and I thought, why not ask him to come on, because he shed some real positive light on PulseChain and Hex, being a Hex OG and stuff like that. Sounds like you've been in crypto for a while. Hey, Ross?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'd like to have been in it a bit longer and earlier, but I'm sure many of us would have. But yeah, I've been in a while. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome.
I think we all wish we could turn back the years a bit and make some different choices. But that's probably why Dozza pops the cork on a Friday, and we have a bit of a happy hour just to put it all behind us and focus on what's ahead. So, no, it's good stuff. 43, what's happening, man? You're muted at the moment, but.
Oh, hey, mate. Not much. Just it's been a busy week. It's always lovely to see nice fat green candles in the
Yes.
RH ecosystem on PulseChain. So that's great. Did you guys see the tweet from Hex Scout? Because I don't know where these green candles came from, but that could be an explanation. I mean, I'm not sure. What do you guys reckon?
Well, there was certainly, I think, a whole bunch of wrapped ETH that was bridged in by I think it's at the Sun AG guys, but then they bridged it out, and then I think they bridged in like about $1 million worth of DAI. So I was under the impression that was going to be used for a liquidity position, but I don't really know. I don't really know the specifics of their I think they've got like, is it soil token and something else? But yeah, I don't know anything about it really.
So what's when I read that, and I read it really quickly, and I didn't get a chance to really absorb it because it was quite a long tweet. But my understanding was that is a company that is going to use PulseChain as their playground. They're going to use it. And when I say playground, they're going to use it to deploy their business plan or whatever.
Yeah.
Is that right? Is that basically
something like that? I think they've got some mini meals or something, and they've got some stable coin that's going to be might be like a reward token or something. there's a few things for sure. I haven't looked into it heaps, so I probably shouldn't say much. But yeah, I mean, it's good to see people building on PulseChain. I guess I'm always a little bit skeptical when new people come in, but like the Hex Scout guys are obviously been massive, and they seem to think they're a good player. So yeah, hopefully it all works out.
Yeah, there was a project that somebody did a stream on not too long ago, and I thought it was a soil token as well. But it was like growing like small greenhouses and stuff like that for produce in like small minimalist, like, you know, small kitchen environments and stuff. So is this a different thing, or do you guys know anything about the actual project? It sounds very different by just what you're saying, but I saw something around a soil token that didn't seem as big as what this actually is at the moment.
I'm in the same boat as Dozer. I only know what I, read briefly in that tweet. But I guess what this really points to is that PulseChain is a playground for anyone that wants to use it. It's permissionless. You don't need to ask anyone, can I have a ticket to get in? You just go and use it. You can bridge across, use it. You can create tokens that are native on PulseChain. You can bridge tokens across from Ethereum. You can do what you like on PulseChain without anyone's permission, which is what DeFi really is supposed to be about.
That's exactly right. Exactly. And I'm assuming the bridge in and then bridge back out was to do the swap. Obviously, they saw there was going to be some slippage issues using the wrapped Ethereum of that large amount.
Okay.
So hopefully those stable pools and stuff like that have been introduced. I know we have stable pools elsewhere, but the ones on PulseX, hopefully they're going to play a part. And it's probably, was it timely or was it coincidence? What was it there? But yeah, they obviously know what they're doing if they were going to get that much slippage and bailed back out for a minute.
Well, maybe, look, one point of view could be that players like that would only come in once those pools are available to them.
Yeah.
Those stable pools are available.
That's right. It's opening doors, making it possible for those bigger whales or companies or whatever it happens to be.
What do you think, Ross? What do you think about all this stuff?
Yeah, as I say, I did read that tweet the other day, and it was long, and it sounds fantastic, and it all looked pretty convincing, actually. I mean, there's a lot of passion and enthusiasm in that tweet, and I've seen a few before, actually, on the same topic, and I better be careful with the number I mentioned here because I may not have remembered it correctly, but it was multiple millions or something they were mentioning of liquidity that this guy would bring into PulseChain. I won't say the number I thought I remember because I'm worried that I might have it wrong, but it sounded very interesting. And maybe it's responsible for the recent pump. I'm not sure. But what I would say is that, what you just mentioned was absolutely spot on, was that, PulseChain is an open system. And that's what I love about this ecosystem, that many other blockchains, we can bang on about the word decentralized as much as we like, decentralized, and, all these buzzwords. But there's many other platforms out there that are, maybe they're decentralized, maybe they're not, people can debate that. But are they open? Are they open for anyone to join? And what Satoshi created initially was an open system that anyone could join, right? That's not necessarily the case anymore, although theoretically it is. But there are certain aspects and mining and that lot that you can join if you want, but you're not going to get very far. With PulseChain, it is completely open as far as I'm concerned. Anyone can join. People can come in, as you say, do what they want, essentially within reason, I hope. And it's an open system, and I think that the key word is openness here. And another point that I'd want to mention without going too off topic is the people mention about RH tickers and we're RH tickers only, and with the recent 9mm hack and that lot, we better stay to RH tickers, and I get that. I kind of support that, but at the same time, we've got to be careful with that message, because if you promote that too much, what you're then kind of saying is, well, we don't welcome, other projects and other coins and other projects building on PulseChain. And I encourage any, developers or anyone to come onto PulseChain and build and innovate. And that's going to help bring adoption to PulseChain more and more. I think we just got to be a bit careful of, banding around this idea of RH tickers only. I mean, I get why, but I think there has to be a bit of a balance. Yeah.
I agree for sure. Speaking of building on PulseChain and stuff, we've got Jexa that just jumped on as well. So we got 5 in the room now.
What's up, Jexa? How you going, bro?
Hey guys, how you going? Hey Ross.
Hey Jex.
Hey guys, nice to meet you.
I won't be hanging around too long, probably about 20 minutes or so, but I thought I'd pop in and say g'day. I missed it last week.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Good to see you, man.
Thanks for coming on. You got any light to shed on what we're just talking about?
On bringing other people into the ecosystem and
but also this sun.
I don't.
Coming on.
I heard it being mentioned months ago, and then it went really quiet. Obviously, the Hex Out guys, there must have been a little bit of FUD being bandied around, or I'm not too sure, and so they've come out obviously in support of them.
Yeah,
and I don't even know who's behind Hex Scout. So if someone knows that, I'm all ears. I don't know who's behind that account. Obviously, they seem to be, I guess, German in origin would be my take.
Yeah,
I think you're right. Yeah.
That's what I've sort of intimated from the tone of that tweet. And there's just no information on this other stuff. Mind you, I haven't gone out and really looked.
Well, I put a link in the chat there. I just literally saw it then, and so people can do their own research and look into it. I mean, it's not for me. Like I'm more, RH coin sort of maximalish, and I sort of always think about opportunity costs. So it's like, when you start to see some of these massive green dillies like these, this is the pulse on the 4 hour.
That's what we're talking about.
I mean, it's just hit a bit of a line of resistance there at the moment, but it's been on a serious pump. So I'm always concerned about opportunity cost. Particularly like if people are selling down an asset that's down 99% just to try and chase some pump. It's like, I don't know, if you do it with fresh powder, but
things can move very quickly when you least expect it.
Yeah, I wouldn't risk it. I think the opportunity cost maybe on the RH tickers at the moment. I mean, we've got the trial coming up in October, and we've got October itself.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, because Rectember is bad, but it normally is, October is normally pretty good.
Yeah.
It was predominantly Hex that pumped over the last couple of days as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, Hex has been moving reasonably. Yeah, I think it was the first one that sort of started moving. Dozer can maybe bring that up. I was just going to say g'day to the chat quickly.
For sure,
we had Ash in here first. G'day, Ash. Always good having you on, and you're always an early bird. And he's having a poke at what we might have been doing in the green room. What happens in the green room stays in the green room, I heard. So you want to get in
green candles.
If you want to
get
in on it, yeah, you got to get into the streams. Send us a message and jump on. Red Squirrel, thanks for coming in. Who else we got? Klaz chatting about their nuts. Well, Klaz, you know as well as anyone that when you're in the green room, there's video too. So it might not have just been chatting. You never know. Show us the greens. Yeah. There's sorry, Doz. How did that bit of neat just go straight up the nostril?
No, I've got it on the rocks, mate. That's okay. Nothing. No scotch was damaged in that.
Oh, that's all right.
Snort. I nearly lost a bit.
Hilarious. Just a few more. Hexagon lost in Asia. Thanks for coming in and commenting, even though you're not going to watch right now, but we love it on the replay as well. So good. Red Squirrel, what's he saying here? Sun Mini Mill project with soil and stable. Oh, it's Justin Sun's projects, right? Yep. Cool. Well, yeah, we're obviously going to do some research about that over the next week or so, and we'll be able to talk about it more when we know more. Hey,
Yeah.
Yeah, and
is he
last one
joking,
here.
or is he actually?
Yeah, that's
Is he? I don't know if it's affiliated with Justin Sun.
nah.
I wouldn't think
Anyway,
so.
I think he's just saying that's a bit tongue in cheek, maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Exactly. And Retrostatic, nice to see you too. Thanks for jumping on. Yeah, I mean, Justin Sun having his own stuff going on, you wouldn't think he'd be diversifying over here.
Yeah, it'd be on Tron, right? If it was affiliated with Justin Sun.
Yeah, exactly. All right, show us the Hex chart. Give us some.
Oh yeah, no, I was just saying. Jexa was right. Yeah, Hex was up 25%. I think this is just Go Pulse. 16% for Inc, 14% for PulseX, and 11.4% for Pulse. So yeah, we can certainly bring up some charts and stuff later. But I mean, 25% on Hex, that's huge.
Yeah, what I thought was interesting about that is I thought they would all not so much Pulse, but Inc, PulseX, and Hex. I thought they would all move pretty much together. And that, like they did to a degree.
Hex has got the lowest liquidity, right?
So, yeah. I was surprised how much it did deviate like that.
It's interesting as well because I noticed before all of those really got much of a pump. Icosa actually pumped about 20-30%, and then this was like a couple of days ago, and it's almost done a 2x from its local low just recently. I know it's got much lower liquidity, but yeah, it's just interesting how those other ones that are tied to it and a big part of Hex. So yeah.
Even eHex. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah,
I didn't have the eHex, but even eHex is up 23% there as well. So that's
and
crazy.
all the derivatives all pumped hard as well.
And all of a sudden, there's not much arguing going on that I saw on Twitter. So
yeah, it's all kumbayas and bloody lollipops and rainbows at the moment.
Yeah. Ross, you've joined
awesome.
Twitter right at the perfect time, I reckon, because there's been some stuff you just wouldn't want to see, something that you believe in, everyone having infighting going on. So
I only joined a couple of weeks ago, and I now, well, it's a bit embarrassing to think that I only joined a couple of weeks ago. I've been around the block for years and watching all you guys and Tangent and everyone, and I kept thinking, how do I connect with these people? How do we get on these streams? And now I have the answer. It's because of X, right? Everyone's connecting on there. But anyway, it's better late than never.
No, that's really cool.
Awesome.
It's awesome.
We've got a unique case study here then. So obviously we're tainted because we see all the shit being flung around the room on a day-to-day basis. If you're not on X, what's your take on what's happened over the last couple of years, and how have you sort of sat through that, and what's your perception of the community, I guess?
Yeah, interesting. I mean, I don't know, maybe I've got a bit more of a positive slant for that reason because I've not been on X. I'm not sure based on what you guys just said. But yeah, I have heard there's been some infighting, and there's been a lot of stuff that I've been, observing, the Ethereum versus PulseChain debate, and Hex on PulseChain versus Hex on Ethereum. And I know there's been a lot of infighting about all that. I guess I'm a bit more open-minded about it all. I support both. But I love PulseChain. I think it's a great ecosystem. I think it's got a lot going for it. But I still think Hex on Ethereum is an opportunity. And I've been looking at that as well. I say, why not? I mean, I'm happy for you guys to disagree, whatever happens to open it up. But I say, why not be open to both? I mean, you've got Ethereum, which is
so cheap, man.
It's so cheap. I mean, the other day I was thinking, I'm going to get some of that. And I spoke to a few of my friends who have also onboarded over the last couple of years onto X and PulseChain. And then before I knew it, it was like 30% up in the last couple of days or something in total or more. And bang goes that opportunity. So, but the great thing about Hex is that unlike so many other cryptos, if you can't snap up these bargains, so long as you're staked, you're racking up the yield anyway. And that's what I love about it, is that, you're racking up more Hex all the time if you're staked, right? So you're essentially dollar cost averaging every day. That's what I love about it. And so, okay, I missed that opportunity the other day, but I'm still getting more Hex free every day, right? And with other cryptos, if you miss it, you miss it. You're done, right? because the yield in staking other cryptocurrencies is just not the same. And so, yeah, I think overall, my view is very positive. I've been looking on, I mentioned it on the stream the other night, on the Adam Stokes show. I've been looking on DeFi Llama and everything. I mean, I love the numbers on there. X, or PulseChain, sorry, as an ecosystem is in the top 20 by total value locked, by daily volume, out of 300 blockchains. So I don't know whether you guys use DeFi Llama as a reference. That's the reference 100%. I use. Maybe there's, and it's looking strong. I mean, PulseX as well. I think it's out of 1,000 decentralized exchanges is in the top 20 by total value lock. So I look at all these numbers, and they're the numbers I look at, and I look at peak prices as opportunity, and not a problem as such. I think that investing is all about going against the crowds and blocking out the noise and looking at the product for what it is, which is a very secure product. Fundamentally, I think it's very sound.
100%. I totally agree with you. And go on, Dozer.
I was just going to say, I was looking at DeFi Llama last night, actually. It was a little bit different that I was looking at it, but for the reasons I was looking. But I was looking at the Ethereum ETF, like the outflows. And I was just wondering just how much Grayscale had been selling. And this is on the daily flows. But yeah, Grayscale have just been murdering the Ethereum price, but they're slowly tapering off, I guess. So DeFi Llama is really good for looking at all sorts of metrics and things.
That's for sure. Hopefully Vitalik's tapering off as well on his sells. He's promised.
I heard that he stopped.
He's promised that was the last one.
Done.
Yeah. Well, apparently that last one was apparently a limit order that was sitting there for a while, and then
that's the best excuse. Can we just say, if you're going to sell anything from now on, you have to say, "Oh no, bro, that was like a TWAP, cow swap thing. I'd set it up weeks ago, bro."
Set it up weeks ago, mate. Yeah, he was just taking his girlfriend out the other day.
He hadn't actually set that up that long ago either. That's only
he probably did it like 2 days ago.
I just saw this. That's pretty good, eh?
Oh, too soon.
Oh no, funny stuff. So hopefully a lot of people are over the selling part, and
Gwei is 1.1, bro.
Yeah,
like
Ethereum Foundation has been crazy busy because I've got alerts set up from Arkham, and I just get hammered every time. And I think I've got quite a reasonable sum set there, so it doesn't just trigger on every pissy little move. I've got like big chunks, and my inbox has just been getting hammered with emails. I know
they've been selling more than BankX. They've been selling more than BankX, bro. I get the alerts from BankX as well, and I'm like, $1,000, $1,000. I'm like, just sell it and
get
the F out. Like,
100%.
Yeah.
Anyway. So, Ross, what do you think about speaking of the gas fees and that? You're talking about EHEX and staking. I know you talk a lot about staking, but are you staking your EHEX? And what do you think about the gas fees in the future on there?
Yeah, well, I love the question, because I think that's obviously been a big point of contention, hasn't it, over the last couple of years, that the gas fees on Ethereum are too expensive, and we don't, Hex on Ethereum is getting to the point of being unusable, and that was a big part of the instigation of spreading PulseChain, wasn't it? But my argument to that, and again, happy for people to disagree, but my argument to that would be, well, I've said this to a few people, is that wasn't Hex meant to be about delayed gratification? Like, wasn't it meant to be about long-term holding and locking? Well, if you really have held Hex long-term and you're staked long-term, such as me, I've got a few ladders, but my ladders are like 5, 8, 10, 12 years. They're not 1.5 years, 3 years. Now, I understand there's people who probably need the money and whatnot, but the whole point of Hex for me was delayed gratification and holding long term. Well, therefore, if you're holding long term on Ethereum, I've had no gas fees issues at all because I haven't ended any stakes yet. So, I have no issue with it. So, if in my opinion, and maybe there's something I'm missing here, but in my opinion, if you're using Hex the way it was intended, which is to stake big and long, why would you have any gas fee issues? I mean, I won't have any gas fee issues for another year or two, and let's hope that the gas fees have come down by then on Ethereum. But even if they have, well, if Hex is doing very well by then in a way, who cares? So I don't know, maybe I'm a bit blunt and direct on it, but in my views, but so although I love the fact that PulseChain is cheap, and that's great, you've got another option there. That's why I support both. You've got another option, and if you want to do more regular stakes on PulseChain, that you end sooner, fantastic. That's great. That's what PulseChain can give you. But I'm staked long on Ethereum and on PulseChain anyway. So I don't have a huge issue with gas fees myself. What do you guys think?
I'm in the same boat as you, Ross.
Yeah.
I'm long on the Ethereum side. I have with stakes that were there prior to the launch of PulseChain. Let me just say that the volatility in gas prices that were seen in the last bull market, if that's revisited, that's going to be really, really difficult to end stakes profitably on Ethereum. Like really, really difficult, and especially for the longer stakes. The shorter stakes, and that's sort of the conundrum. It's the shorter stakes, cost less to end. The longer stakes have to do more calculation. They cost more. So if you have a 7 or 8 year stake, due to the volatility that we've seen previously, and as far as I understand, no solution to that as of yet. There's no guarantee that we're going to be able to profitably end those longer stakes on Ethereum. So as far as staking goes, from my perspective on Ethereum, I'm not that interested in that. I'm only interested in staking on PulseChain because I think that PulseChain was created in part so that Hex stakes could be ended profitably and cheaply, the longer ones especially. So that's just my perspective. I've got no issue with people want to buy and sell Hex. I do whatever. I mean, stake on Ethereum for all I care. But from just a caution, like just a warning to anyone staking on Ethereum, just be aware that the volatility of the gas on Ethereum could be the undoing of your stakes, like the profitability of those stakes.
Yeah,
I think.
Sure.
I think as long as everyone's made mistakes in the way they set up their staking ladders. If you're in early, no one got it correct. We all done ladders of various lengths and sizes, and people were turning it into an art form. Some people were doing it on a weekly basis. So everyone's
Sundays, bro, because that's when the gas is the lowest.
That's when the gas is the lowest. Yeah. So there's all these. Literally, people were making patterns out of it and making it look pretty on the end stake chart.
Yeah.
What we've gone through over the last 12 months, where the GWEI on ETH has dipped to levels I didn't think I'd see. That has been absolutely a godsend, where I've been able to clear a whole backload of stakes that I thought I was never going to get a chance to end. But I think if you're consolidating and you're going longer or less of them, and you're potentially timing them, where if you're not ending things in a bull market, which is a catch-22, you don't want to be if you want to exit, when they're worth a little bit, don't you?
Well, I speculated that we talked about this with 43 last week, I think it was, and we're saying if you believed in the 4-year cycle, you could ladder your stakes out so that some of them end every 4 years from 2025.
Yeah, you can't
assuming
predict that. I mean, that's
but yeah,
you can think you get it right, but you can get it way wrong, and you only have to be wrong. You only have to be wrong by weeks, and it's a whole different story.
Well, undershoot it rather than overshoot
it. That's right. Yeah. So I wouldn't be banking on trying to time it all and get clever with that. The best you can hope for is that things improve in general from a gas perspective on the chain if you've got long stakes. And
big stakes are not going to be, and big stakes won't be an issue. Like really big stakes won't be an issue for profitability. I don't think. But it's the smaller stakes. Trying to end a smaller stake when I've seen gas fees for ending a stake, a 3-4 year stake, be over $1,000. If it's a smaller stake and the price of Hex is not high enough, then you're better off just spending that gas money on buying more Hex or just giving up completely. But on PulseChain, I don't expect us to have those problems anytime soon. I think we've got a few years up our sleeve on PulseChain at least, whereas the volatility on Ethereum has already reared its ugly head, for stakers.
Things can change as well. So at the moment, I think your advice is spot on, 43. So, if you're going to be doing staking, do it on PulseChain. And then, we've got proto dank sharding at the moment. When they go full dank sharding in the future, maybe things change and then you reassess. But for the interim, it's like PulseChain is literally designed for this purpose. So why not use it?
So, do you think gas fees have improved because of the recent upgrades on ETH?
Well, I suspected that they would for a couple of reasons, and they have, because it's taken some of the load off the Ethereum mainnet because of all the L2s are cheaper. And I guess just the pervasiveness of there's so many L2s now out there. So it could just be like the volume is lower on Ethereum mainnet. But yeah, there's the blobs that they introduced with the proto dank sharding. There could be something to be said that had, because ever since they introduced that, whatever it was, the Dankun or whatever, it's down.
The Dankun upgrade, yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I think it's on the right path, and when they come to full dank sharding as well, that could lower the gas fees even more. So that's why I'm kind of bullish on it. Maybe I'm a bit too bullish, but I'm bullish on Hex on Ethereum as well. Anyway, so and with the path that Ethereum has in their roadmap, I believe that gas fees will come down. It may not be anytime soon, and I understand, as you said earlier, guys, that it's not guaranteed, and I get the option with PulseChain is certainly more feasible for ending your stakes, absolutely. But I still believe the path is there for Ethereum to lower them, and we're seeing signs of that now. So hopefully it's going to work out well. But yeah, I understand the difficulty that there's been in the past, absolutely.
Yeah, and so go ahead, Jackson.
Whatever upgrades are brought to ETH, we get to bring them along.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
I think it's in everyone's best interest that they find a way to bring gas fees down, because otherwise people are just going to go elsewhere and not use the network eventually. And people say, "Oh, it'll be all right because the whales are still going to play there." Well, maybe and maybe not. I think at the end of the day, there's a price that not everyone's willing to pay, and they'll find somewhere else. Do you guys know much about the Sonic upgrade with Phantom? Because I know that obviously that's a EVM chain as well, but apparently that's going to be a pretty big thing for Phantom, increasing the speed and gas and stuff like that. So I'm wondering if also, as far as I've heard, the Ethereum Foundation have been tipping in for that as well.
Oh, really?
I don't know how much truth there is to that, but that's what I've heard. So if they're doing that, then there could be reasons behind that where it's a good technology and they know it and it might come across. And then, like Jexa said, then we get it on PulseChain too. So
what did you call that?
Sonic.
Sonic.
Yeah.
Look, that's better branding. I couldn't get over the spooky swap and all this
Sonic
theme stuff. I was like, lame.
Yeah.
I'm not using something called spooky swap. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And boo and stuff like that. Yeah.
No.
People have done very well on it, but yeah, it's one of those things. I think
one of
that's the GameFi
ahead.
thing where everyone loved those sort of terms and the spooky swap and that. But yeah, there's also a time where it needs to start looking a bit, I don't know, maybe a bit more professional type thing. Still have a bit of fun, but to bring in the big people, maybe they want to see it a bit more serious.
We're based on dick and balls over at PulseChain.
Yeah, but that's between us.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that all of that is public knowledge.
You don't want to go on page 2 of Deck Screener for PulseChain. That's exactly right. Yeah, it's good stuff.
The meme coins are different, I guess. Or they get away with a lot. But yeah, the main DEX is Spooky Swap. I don't know. It's just something about it. But the Ethereum Foundation having something to do with Phantom, that's odd, I would have thought, because I know that they sort of support some of these L2s in theory, but I didn't think financially. But I guess they moved something like 35,000 ETH to like Kraken, and that actually shook up the market a little bit because they thought that they were going to dump it on the exchange. But I think they're going to gradually sell it off. But yeah, when that came out during the week, 35,000 ETH, that really spooked the market, I think.
Yep, I reckon so. Hey, I'm just going to jump back into the chat there. BMA had a comment there, and I was thinking the same thing. Feeling a bit more pumped. Hey, we're all smiling and a bit more lively today, so it's really good. We're loving the green candles, that's for sure. Doc Lover, I think we said do Clover or something last week. Doc Lover.
I corrected it afterwards. I was like, actually, Doc Lover makes more sense.
It does make more sense. I thought the same thing though. Yeah, I've been thinking about this as well, doing a bit of I'm no security expert, but I've got a few tips I could give, and we got Jexa here, and 43 is a mad security expert, and Dozen knows a bit too. So we should do one of these one time soon. I think it'd be really good to talk about that. VPNs, I've heard, is getting a bit of a dicey thing to talk about even in Australia. Have you heard about that?
Yeah, that's not looking great, is it?
That's so retarded.
Panic,
yeah, that's so silly. This whole they're going to get rid of VPNs and stuff. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, and they're sort of. I think like people are saying it's the conspiracy behind it. They're saying it because it's going to protect kids using certain social media platforms and that. That's how they're going to push them away from the social media and all of that sort of toxic stuff to introduce a VPN ban. It's like, well, what's the actual the real hidden agenda behind it? Because I haven't seen a lot of for that yet for the actual kids stuff on social media, and it's a pretty big way.
I think we've got a bit of an issue in Australia with being a bit apathetic, and we don't stand up and fight for a lot of our rights, and things get rallied through our legal system without much fanfare. So I think
they get rushed through at midnight under the.
But they just don't seem to. They go through pretty much unopposed. Like we don't jump up and down and defend our rights like the US guys do, and I think we're going to have to start changing that. Like as much as you don't.
Look, this is how they.
It's a matter of the frog in the boiling pot of water.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So
this is how they did it with the metadata, right? When they said that it was because of terrorism, they need to collect everyone's metadata, and then slowly but surely, and they rushed that stuff through as well. It was like it wasn't.
I think the solution. Listen, when it comes to that, so let's say they ban VPNs. Okay, so how do they enforce that? The only way they can enforce that is through ISPs. Yeah, because ISPs are going to be so. Everyone signs up to Starlink because they're not going to enforce it. Starlink's not going to enforce it because it's not in Australia.
Good point.
Their infrastructure is not in Australia. It's
Plus, Elon doesn't give a fuck.
I reckon Starlink will have it inbuilt, to be honest, because there's already options in there for certain filtering, and I reckon they could just inbuild it very, very quickly.
The other thing that was interesting that Starlink were playing with was having turning your a Samsung phone into a router. Now the throughput on that, the bandwidth was very, very low, but you can see where their thinking goes just by them playing around with that. Like, why would they play around with that? Because, governments can turn around and say, well, we're gonna ban the hardware, or we're gonna do this, or we're gonna do that. But I think the fact that these options are available now, I'm actually thinking of going on to Starlink just for that reason, because I just don't, trust the ISPs that much. Not that I don't trust the ISPs. I just think they have to comply with whatever notices they're served.
Did you see this? Elon called Australia a bunch of fascists.
Yeah,
because they wanted to introduce this misinformation online thing.
That's already on. That's already been introduced. I've already got a misinformation bloody.
They were going to fine their platforms 5% of their global revenue for failing to prevent the spread of misinformation. So 5% of their global revenue.
That's ridiculous.
Get the fuck out of here. What are they talking about?
So I got a question, right? At the moment, these platforms are centralized. Obviously, blockchain is an answer to these sorts of things, although I don't know how that, I'm on the tech side of it. I'm not sure how that works or how that they would make that work. But if you can post to a censorship-resistant blockchain and then use software locally on your computer to run, like to interact with it, in the same way that like PulseChain, you use like software on your computer to interact with the blockchain. If that's, maybe that's the direction these social media platforms need to go in, because then what they have to do is they actually have to come to your home, get your computer and access your computer, and then say, hey, you've got software you're not supposed to have. That's a few steps down. That's a few steps away from you're not allowed to access this website.
Yep. Yeah, so, I don't know. Smart people like 43 we need to learn a bit more from, so we can get through these bits, I reckon. But yeah, it's definitely
whoa. Go easy on the smart people like 43 thing.
How would you guys feel?
Low.
I can only see ones and zeros there. Who said I was talking about you?
How would you guys feel if I've got I think he's a federal member of parliament that's locally based, that he's curious, he wants to talk to crypto people about policy and things like that. How would you guys feel about having someone like that come on a show like this, where we each bring a few points that we think are important, not to hammer the guy, but just to give him some feedback of what things need to be going back and being fed back up the chain. And maybe we can start using our voices a little bit more than just coming on here and yelling at the clouds.
I think it
couldn't hurt.
Yeah, look,
I love it. I love the idea. It's whether or not he would want to come on here with the likes of us. That's
I don't know. I think he's a young guy, so he's not like a hairy old grey man. Fucking doesn't know what's going on. Like
he's not Peter Schiff. That's all right then.
No.
Yeah. No. I think that's really good.
That's another thing I want to talk about. But yeah, so I'll reach out to this guy and just see if he's got any interest. I'll meet with him regardless, but it might be nice to bring him to a forum like this where he can actually engage with the community.
That could be good, man. I'll switch to mid strength for the day.
Yeah.
Don't send me an intro video like you did today, Jaxa. But yeah, look, I think it was so good. Like you were saying about things just getting passed through Parliament, at midnight and stuff like that, and no one really standing up to it. I reckon a lot of that has to do with the fact that there aren't people that are actually that knowledgeable there to stand up about it and really know what's going on and see that, like, the boiling of the frog type thing, happening besides the people that are actually purposely doing it. So
But
we need to open people's eyes, and everyone does. They need their eyes open to it. So
I don't think we lobby as hard, and there's pros and cons to that in Australia. That obviously big business and they tend to lobby hard, but on issues like this where it affects the little people, then it tends to not get any support or traction. So there's no one really.
The thing that concerns me about the misinformation stuff is it's subjective, right? So then who becomes the arbiter of what is misinformation and what isn't? Like,
the government
can't just be. Yeah. So,
but the thing, but you can't. You've got to stop it even getting to a position where it gets to that, and that's the problem. If you don't, they're saying, "Oh no, well, we need to put in a framework of who can adjudicate what's good and what's bad." Well, bullshit. They shouldn't even get to that stage where you've got people adjudicating over the free speech aspect.
Everyone should be adjudicating with their common sense.
Yeah,
exactly.
About what. That's the whole point. Like, the best
and
argument.
Do your own research. Like, what's wrong with that as well? Like, if you hear someone say something and you don't think it's true, well, then look it up. And then be like, you know what? I think that's, you can be skeptical of things that people say, and then that makes you go and then research the thing and become more knowledgeable about it, rather than just saying, oh no, we're going to sanitize everything so that only the things you hear are government approved, and then that way you don't have to think. That way we can just spoon feed you. It's like, what the fuck am I, a child? Like,
well, most people are used to being spoon fed now, because even social media and stuff, a lot of people don't go and look it up. They just want to scroll through, and what they read is facts, and that's it. And then that's what goes in. So
do you know what I think's even worse than that, True Blue, is people don't even realize they're being spoon fed. It's here comes the airplane, and they just fucking swallow it down whole.
Absolutely. That's good. Yeah.
Do you guys reckon that at some stage people, companies are going to build like their servers like in space? Just to avoid any jurisdiction. Just to avoid any jurisdictional issues, with relation to accessing things. Like, what if you're going to have a problem in Brazil accessing certain websites, or you're going to have a problem in Australia accessing certain websites, then you just totally go around that. Yeah.
I see exactly where you're going with that, and I agree, but just the logistics of space, like for servers and comms and things like that, like it just would be easier to do it in a country that's where, either there's no international law, or there's just different rules, different laws in a different country, rather than actually trying to deal with the engineering hurdles involved with putting stuff in space.
I might have to jump off in a sec, guys, but I'll give you something to talk about before I leave. I realized all this time Peter Schiff doesn't understand the tech. He doesn't fucking get it. He thinks you can tokenize gold and it's the same as Bitcoin. He does not fucking understand.
It's just that
when he said that, I went, okay, now I get why you're such an idiot on Twitter. You literally don't get the tech. You don't
literally. I had that ready to roll. I'll play it now.
Oh yeah,
I'm going to bail, guys. But have fun.
Good to see you, Jexar. Have a good weekend, mate.
Thanks for coming on, man. Catch you later. One thing I just wanted to bring up before that was this one. So we all know that, what you said about storing stuff up in space, but Kamala, remember what she said? It's somewhere between here and space. It's in the cloud, remember?
Somewhere up here.
Private file in some file cabinet that's locked in the basement of the house. It's on your laptop, and it's then therefore up here in this cloud that exists above us, right? It's no longer in a physical place.
There we go. So
it's no longer in a physical place anymore.
They're already doing it. So you're behind on that.
Someone needs to tell Carmela that the cloud is just someone else's computer. Someone needs to tell her that.
Oh my goodness. That is so funny. Here's
that
this
debate was hectic.
Yeah. It was. We can get into that. This is that Peter Schiff one that Jackson was talking about. Oh gosh.
Bitcoin is scarce in the sense that there's 21 million of them. But so what? It's just a string of numbers. There's nothing to look at. There's nothing that it does that's any different than all the other strings of numbers of all the other cryptocurrencies. In fact, there's 22.1 quadrillion Satoshis. I mean, there's enough Satoshis for everybody to have hundreds of thousands of them. You can't do anything more with a Bitcoin than you can with a Satoshi, which is nothing.
What?
There it is, guys.
21 million. What did he say?
21 quadrillion. Yeah, because they're Satoshis. So, yeah.
Schiff is like the definition of a boomer.
But then you could say the same with gold, right? If you break gold down to minuscule bits, that there's, quadrillions of gold bits across the world. I mean, it's the same thing.
Yeah. It's not the same as shaving the top off coins, is it? Off your gold bars and then making more of them. It's completely, you're not actually making more. It's
the divisibility of it. Yeah, that's not really the point of blockchain. It's the fact that it's permissionless and
it's finite.
Kind of mutable.
I think he's one of those old school people that thinks that if you can't see something physically, then it's not worth anything. And I think we've gone beyond that now, right? In the digital age, I mean, because you can't see it doesn't mean it doesn't have value. I think that's what he's missing.
Yeah. Either that or he's just trying to FUD it so he can keep DCAing for a bit longer.
Possibly. Yeah.
One of those. I'm just going to, before you go, Dozer,
go ahead.
Just get back into the chat here. Clintron's, thanks for joining us and saying g'day. And he's giving Ross some props there on the stream with Stokesy. I quite enjoyed it as well, Ross. So, yeah, Clintron's always tunes into him. So that's really nice of you, man. Ash's, this was about me saying he could join anytime. So looks like we won't be seeing him anytime soon on the stream. But yeah, we're glad to always have you here. It's so good.
Ash is a champion.
He is. Klaz, Vitalik has a pocket drainer girlfriend. Exactly. She's talking about, the zirconias. Is that what he's buying her, is it? Must be the way.
He's been buying her. Did you see my comment? I said he's been buying her more handbags than Richard Hart.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Indeed. Fast Abdul, for a private jet, he'll be Vitalik's girlfriend. Yep, there we go. I think, he's got pretty big bags, so would be in for that. BMA saying the gas fees haven't been bad, no. And that's what we were saying, it's quite good lately. But if you've seen when it has spiked up, it just goes absolutely crazy for ending stakes with the large blocks, the amount of block space that it takes up to get those stakes calculated. eToro and RH's comment. Did anyone see that? No. I didn't see that comment, so I can't comment on it. 43, did you see RH talking about eToro?
The only eToro comment that I've heard him make was from years ago, so no.
Yep. No, that's cool. Ban VPN and X will be next. Well, yeah, look, I think that's why, Elon's pushing through with the Starlink pretty hard, and there's so many options now. You can get mobile, like small Starlink setups. It won't be long before we've got tinier, even smaller plugins for phones and stuff.
Did you guys hear about they found this rogue Wi-Fi on this US battleship, and it was called Stinky, right? And they couldn't work out where it was coming from, and then they realized that it was a Starlink, like one of those mobile Starlink things on a US battleship.
Wow.
That's cool. Oh, that's awesome.
So someone had just snuck it on so they could get internet.
That's good. It's amazing, isn't it? The opportunities now to do things like that. You can access it anywhere. It's bloody unreal. Have you seen that there was a 3D image of all of the Starlink satellites basically completely wrapping Earth? It's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, it is hectic when you see the satellites.
force field all the way around.
Yeah,
Yeah,
aliens would just look at us and be like, "What are these guys doing?"
Yeah.
But there's a simpler way of doing this. You don't need to do it like that. But okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. That's exactly right. Did you have something you were going to say there, Dozer?
Oh, just when we were talking about Bitcoin, and maybe because we've got Ross here as well, he might be able to share his thoughts on it. But I noticed this one from Tyler Durden. I'm a big Fight Club fan, so I like this guy's handle. But he was saying that BlackRock can take as much Bitcoin as they want from Coinbase, and the transaction is recorded off-chain. So, and then, yeah, thanks, Brian, you massive CUNT. This idea that BlackRock and Coinbase can kind of collude in the background and do off-chain Bitcoin transactions and settle in cash, I think is just crypto taking a wrong turn. Like that's not what it's about. Everything's meant to be transparent on the blockchain, and to be settling in cash, it opens up a whole bunch of other problems where you can do shorts and things like that, and then you can actually have more than 21 million BTC positions, even though there's, you can have more than the total supply of Bitcoin, but if you get liquidated, you just pay it in cash. I don't think you should be able to do that.
Yeah, it's really opening up or abusing like the centralization of it, isn't it? Using it up while they can, and making sure they can still maneuver and get positions without us knowing. So,
what do you think about that, Ross?
Well, yeah, I mean, I never was a huge fan of the Bitcoin ETF in the first place. I mean, it's great for price, perhaps. That still remains to be seen, but I don't know that it's great for Bitcoin. We will see. But what you mentioned is concerning. I remember JP Morgan, they did a lot with manipulating silver. I think it was the silver ETF. And I know some investors who invested in silver in the past who talked to me a lot about this. They manipulated the price of silver hugely. And I think even to this day, silver price is heavily suppressed. And I think JP Morgan were paying the court for that, and they had to pay some massive multi-billion-dollar fine because they were doing all kinds of manipulation, suppressing the price of silver with that ETF. And so, the whole benefit of the Bitcoin ETF was that, it's on chain, that's not going to be a problem here because that's not the case, right? Yeah, exactly, right? Spot ETF, it's on chain, it's all transparent, but maybe that's now not the case, right? So, yeah,
settling in cash is not the same as self-custody.
Who was it that said he was doing an ETF that was going to be depositing Bitcoin in and out of it? Now, who was that? There was someone mentioned a few months ago that they were very much. Oh, that was it Max Kaiser? I think he was banding on about doing a Bitcoin deposited ETF where it's not cash based. Not sure, but that would be an interesting option as well. But I'm not a huge fan of it, but let's see if it's good for price. I know that's all people tend to care about, but in the end, I think that could come back to haunt us.
I agree. I don't think it's in line with the ethos of crypto to be to doing these off-chain cash settlement deals. It's like it's not what it's about.
No,
100%.
And that's how they manipulated, with the GME stock and all those short positions, and that whole thing with Roaring Kitty, and the guys were just refusing to sell. They were trying to wreck the short positions, but the guys had larger positions than the total amount of GME stock that existed, and then they never got liquidated, and they could just pay it in cash, and it was some dodgy shit going on through the exchanges. And then remember they disabled the buy button and all sorts of weird stuff. It was like, we don't want to see that shit in crypto. Like,
I think BlackRock know what they're doing, right? And is it have they got about 500,000 Bitcoin now, or is it them and all the other funds? It's a total of about 500,000 Bitcoin. I think they own. Is it?
I think they're the biggest position, like bigger than Satoshi at this point.
Yeah, and if they were, I hope this isn't going to happen, but if they were to go down that path of what JP Morgan were doing, the whole point of JP Morgan, the way they did it was that they suppressed the price, pushed the price down through having paper silver that they were selling, and that enabled them to buy back more silver at a cheaper price. Now, I had people that were concerned before the Bitcoin ETF was launched that BlackRock could do a similar thing, but it was like, no, it's a spot ETF, it's all on chain. But yeah, I hope it doesn't go down that path.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So you'd think that the SEC, if they were going to look at anything, they should be looking at these things, ensuring that the spot ETF is adhered to.
Totally right. No, they don't do that. They don't look at the obvious stuff.
It's a little scary though. Like I don't know what I don't want to say. So Roca Negra, I think is what somebody calls them. I don't want to say it too much, but they literally own like Raytheon and Northrop Grumman and all of these, like Lockheed Martin, all of the defense contractor stuff as well. And then just some of the stuff that goes on, you're just going, can you believe how much of a monopoly they have and how much control they have?
Yeah,
and
in a way,
give it to them.
Yeah, isn't it funny? I guess there was a desperation there for a while, like with the prices going down, where everyone's cheering on BlackRock coming in, thinking they're gonna, just about bag bias in a way. And it's like, when you know what they can actually be capable of with all of this power, it's actually pretty scary. And in a way, it's good if, Bitcoin's probably going to go to the moon, and everyone's going to do very well out of it. But who knows? It could be manipulated so easily because of their power. So
so keep in mind that the WEF want everyone to invest in stocks, and I guess BlackRock are like heavily invested in just regular stocks. So maybe they don't actually want crypto to go to the moon as such. Maybe they want to control it to a point where you get some good returns, but it's that has diminishing returns over time, and that maybe steers people more back towards legacy finance. So that's just speculation, that maybe that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah, it's interesting, mate, because I just have this theory that my theory is that I think that the types of people who are buying ETFs will not be able to help themselves when they see 50% increase in the value of their investment over a short period of time. I think once they see it hit close to $100,000, I think they're going to dump. I think some of these people are going to dump. And who knows what happens after that? But I just can't imagine Legacy buying in and having the balls to hang on for longer.
But isn't it interesting that sometimes we can decouple from these things, because legacy finance people might be, the way that they look at crypto is so simplistic. Like they think of Bitcoin as just digital gold, and where we can kind of decouple a little bit and then march to our own beat. And just recently in the last couple of days, we got 25% pump on Hex, and we know that there's a rate cut coming around next Wednesday on the 18th, and no one cares. Everyone's just like, well, we might see a drop because of that, because there normally is historically like a bit of volatility around that time, but we're just doing our own thing. So that's kind of cool as well.
What do you guys think on what's going to happen next week with all of that? Are you expecting the 25 basis points, and do you reckon it's going to, do you think it's going to move us in any direction, or priced in and just stay calm?
I think the 25 basis points for sure. I think it's 85% on FOMC. Let's just have a look here, because I was looking at this the other day, and so the unemployment figures came in. It was 4.3% was the previous, and they were forecasting 4.2%, and it came in at 4.2. So slightly, cooler unemployment rates in the US. So that was a good thing, because they were a little bit concerned that if if the inflation has come down, but if the unemployment rate goes too high, then they have to cut more, I guess.
Yeah.
And then that might spook the market into thinking that there's going to be a hard landing, it's going to be a recession. But these numbers are probably manipulated, right? So let's not shit ourselves. But the implication was that because it's 4.2%, so unemployment's not going too high, so they can get away with just a 25 basis point cut on Wednesday.
Yeah. I was going to say when it's forecasted, it's like, so they forecast it and then they just go, so it's going to be this anyway. So they type that in so that, they just put the first bit out and the other one's just waiting for them to press the button on what the actual result is.
Yeah. Well, the CPI as well. So this is the year-to-year CPI was previously 2.9 and it's down to 2.5%. But they can manipulate what they put in the market basket for the CPI. So they can really just make that whatever they want.
Absolutely. So speaking of all of that sort of stuff and whether it's going to spook the market or not, I'm assuming most of you probably saw this post from Steph, but do you think that it means that we're at the bottom?
I had a theory about this.
Yeah.
I was like, there is one way to predict the bottom, and that is to make the bottom.
To make the bottom, yeah. It was interesting.
So I was like, go, Steph, go.
Yeah, exactly. It was already moving a bit, but it had already come up above that price anyway. But yeah, making it, then yeah, if he's put a big bag in, then that's sweet. Happy with that.
I reckon that means he bought. That's what I reckon.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And that's great. If we bottom, cool. I'd like to know anyone in the chat, if you're willing to say it, whether you FOMO'd in or not. Because like Ross was saying, earlier on, a lot of people were waiting, probably to, bridge in and put something in at those prices, or they were thinking, oh, we're going to get one more leg down. And then it's pumped up. And, I know Rossi said, that was an opportunity missed. I reckon even at these prices though, like I know it feels like a FOMO and stuff like that, but it's really not, even at these prices, like it's still a damn crazy price.
We've only really gone back to the price we were 3 weeks ago. So it's not like,
Yeah, you can get quite greedy, can't you? I know, but I still feel like it's 30% more than what I wanted it for now. It's just, you can get so greedy. We are all like that. But a question I guess I have, because I'm not so much of a good reader of these charts, and I don't know if you guys have got any thoughts, but if you like zoom out over the last 3 months, there have been some big pumps, and then a bigger dump, then another big pump, then an even bigger dump. Is there anything that anyone would be thinking as to why this would be the bottom, or is it just a bit of hope and, we just hope it's the bottom, or is there any theory as to why it might actually be the bottom?
I guess seller exhaustion is always the term that gets thrown around. I like the meme of like when you see, seller exhaustion and then it has a picture of the sellers and they're like a marathon runner, like looking fresh as just, So you never really know if the sellers are exhausted. But I guess it also, you need to have the demand, right? People have to believe that the price is going up. And then, so it's a feedback loop, right? So, and then if people think the price is going to go down, they're just going to wait because they'll get more units when they buy lower, right? And if they think it's going to go up, they're going to get less units. So it's like that makes them FOMO. So I guess it's where the sentiment is on of the perception. It's like with Ethereum, right? Like where Ethereum was going down and from the ETF, and everyone was comparing it to the Bitcoin ETF and thinking, well, about 30 days after the Bitcoin ETF, Bitcoin actually went on a massive run. And then so we were all hoping that ETH would do the same. And because PLS is sort of liquidity bonded with ETH, then we thought that maybe that would flow on. And then it didn't, right? And it started to keep going down, and ETH BTC is getting lower, like the ratio of ETH with respect to Bitcoin is going down and down. And then you see the Ethereum Foundation starting to sell 35,000 ETH, gets moved around. Vitalik's buying hats for his girlfriend or whatever, and it's like just spooks the sentiment. People are just like, they get spooked. And then so they're like, well, I'm not buying because I can buy back lower.
Yeah, sure. I mean,
crazy.
there has to be a point where, I mean, that's why I was thinking the other day, and I spoke to a few people I know about it, and there has to be a point where you go, this is just now too much of a bargain. I mean, that's what I've bought all kinds of different prices with Hex on both chains, but I hadn't bought any more for a little while. I mean, I'm staked, so hey, I'm getting more free yield anyway, but there was a point where it hit the other day where I just thought this is just too much of a bargain to miss, and I think that's what other people are thinking, and that's why it's pumped back up as well. It could be the other Sun AG stuff, and it's a multitude of things, but I do think there is a point where it's just too much of a bargain. I mean, X is 100% uptime, all the stuff that people say many times, hasn't been hacked, etc., ultra secure, and you look at all that and you remind yourself of that, and you go, well, for that price. You just.
Look, I agree with you completely. Like everyone should be buying at least some of an asset that's got product market fit, has the proven track record, all the good things you could say about how Hex did the 10,000x, and now we sort of Pulse hasn't even really started its first run, and you're getting in at like prices that you really had to be in whale prices to be sacking at the original thing. So I get all of that, but I sort of something about it when people say that something's cheap. Like everyone should buy something when it's like 99% down because it's just drops your cost basis, yes.
Yeah.
But that notion of cheap is really subjective because it was cheap, like Hex was cheap at like 1 cent, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was cheap at half a cent. And so it's so sometimes what I like to do is to take the emotion out of it and just look at the charts. And then if you're either in an uptrend or a downtrend, and so if you think that we're like the reason why it feels like there's been a sentiment change and everyone's like all of a sudden bullish and excited, is because there's been like a sentiment change, and then that's why people sort of start to call the bottoms, and then you start to see people FOMO in and this sort of stuff. But you can see that in the charts as well. Like you can see on like the 20-day moving average, we've just we closed above the 20-day moving average, and I was like, that was for me the signal to be like, let's go. So yeah, you can either do it through TA and sort of strategies and things like that, or you can do it based on just the price, the absolute price. But I would caution against people just using price as a because what is cheap today could be expensive tomorrow, and vice versa. So example, to flip that on its head, Hex could still be cheap at 20 cents. You know what I mean? Like there could be a point where Hex is at 20 cents and we're going, look, it's probably going to do a 2x. Like it's cheap. Like you will never get a 2x in, legacy finance in the amount of time you watch, and it could do a 2x. And then we're saying at 20 cents.
When the uptrend is there, the longer term uptrend is there, it really is a matter of, the sentiment changes and everyone has confidence in it. It's going up. So everyone you're more likely to throw money in them at this point, because right now everyone's trying to call the bottom. Listen, one thing I just want to point out that the price of T shares only goes up.
Yeah.
The price of T shares only goes up.
That's right. I think that's what so many people outside of. They miss that.
Dozer, you can only buy T shares in. You can only buy
I know, but you have to clarify a little bit. Like the price of a T-shirt is worth less
is denominated
than it was a year ago.
The T-share rate dictates the price of T-shares. Now, the cost of Hex, you could say you can denominate that in dollars, but I'm going to draw a line in the sand here and say that the price of T-shares is denominated in is dictated by the share rate there, which is on its way to 40,000. We are almost at 40,000.
Yeah.
We're not far off. What are we? 37,000, 37,000.
Yeah. By the end of the year, I reckon we'll probably tick the 40,000. So it's going to be very good. I'm sort of with you on that. And I wish I could rearrange the squares here on the stream to like a tier level of Hex belief or whatever you want to call it. because yeah, it would be 43 and Ross, and then me. So
How do I get it
somewhere
down?
we need it in like 8 squares, and then I could rearrange it. 43 and Ross, you're muted 43, and then me somewhere next, and then Dozza just after me. And
I'm a believer in Hex, man. I believe
I
in
think
Hex.
you could just drag them around, True Blue. You could just drag these boxes around, mate. You just get me and drag me up to the top.
Oh,
and,
there.
yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, no, I know.
There
I
you
just,
go. You fully can.
yeah.
I want Ross up here with me, mate. Ross should be up
there
there
we
with me. He's got 12-year stakes.
There we
That's
go.
it. That's pretty
There we
much.
go.
Hang on. There we go. That's sort of how it goes.
Well,
That's
we
sorta
don't know that for sure, but I'd like to think that I'm right up there.
I
Yeah,
like this. I like this elitism. Like I like Hex, but it's like
I've looked up the chain
dirty
very
liquid,
quickly, guys, haven't I?
dirty liquid Hex. How dare you?
That's it exactly.
At this
cannot
point, I don't
stakes,
even know
get
why
out.
Dozza is talking. I don't even know why Dozza is talking right now. You're below us, my friend. You are below us.
That's so funny.
Mute.
That's awesome. Yeah, there we go. Oh, is it working? Is the mute working there, Dozza? Yeah.
I'm
we're
joking,
good
of
now.
course.
All right, guys, let's carry on. Now, oh, that's really good stuff. Yeah, I think the same as you were saying about the, how do we know the bottoms might be in, or what are the clues? But there's another thing to that, how you were talking about sentiment just then, where it's like I don't know if the sentiment is going to be what we might be used to or what everyone says it normally is, because I reckon top signals are going to be shown a lot earlier, or what people would call top signals, just because of the euphoria of us actually moving off the bottom. People, you could see top signals probably halfway up the run up this time, because people are just not going to know what hit them. And it's like, how many bottom signals have we had already? Like, I think Doc Glover was saying somewhere, that there was so many bottom signals and we're still getting them. So where actually is the bottom? Who knows? But yeah, I think the FOMO.
Steph made the bottom. We've already established, bro. Steph made the bottom.
That's right. Well, I've got a theory about this, and it might stir some people up, but there's been a coin that's been going around that's been a bit distracting, and people call it the green rings. I think we all know what we're talking about, but the Titan X, which has been booming. All right, like we'll give it that.
Sure.
The price went down for a long time, just like Hex, but probably a lot quicker, and then it just went pretty much straight up recently. There was a lot of distraction there, and I feel the sentiment of when a lot of people shifted over about to be bullish on Titan X, we really sort of dropped a bit lower, and then there was that bottom. And so I could be very wrong, and it's probably just a big, just thought of mine, that maybe people are rotating back in because they've got some pretty good gains on Titan X, and they might be like, oh crap, the ship might take off, or the rocket might take off on PulseChain soon. And that's where they truly believe, but they've had their mad gains over there. They might be starting to come back and buy and bring it up.
Yeah, that's a word of caution for sure. When people start to see, like I think it was Titan X or Dragon X or whatever it was.
Yeah.
One of these ones that was going up. It's like, yeah, you could be selling your Hex or your Pulse or PulseX or whatever, and then buying the top of like Titan X.
Yeah.
So you just got to be a little bit careful there. And
Exactly.
then you see Hex pump and then the other one dump, and then you try and get back in and you get less overall.
Yeah. Trading bags only if you're going to do that stuff, I guess, just small amounts. But yeah, I've just been holding tight on it, and all the way down. I know everyone's waiting for the bottom, but the boring way of doing it is DCAing, and it's proven over the years to be a pretty good way of doing it. Crispy Man actually does a lot of that on Hexfire on his streams, and the DCAing from the start of Hex till now is still up. So it's very cool, even though the price has come down a long way. Ross, do you know Crispy Man? Right? Yeah, I believe so. Yeah. Have you seen Crispy Man?
I've seen him on a few streams. Yeah, Crispy Man. Yeah.
He's really knowledgeable on and really into the the T-shares and all the crazy charting and behind Hex. So if you get a chance, it's hexfire.io. And
he's that website before. Yeah,
it's great. And he's got his own stream where he just talks about Hex which is really cool, and all the staking. Yeah. So hey, I wanted to get into something a bit more about you, Ross, with the book that you've written. But I've got, and this is just a joke, so don't take it badly. Couple of questions first. One, did you used to work for Google by any chance?
Absolutely not. No.
Cool.
Is he related to Jack Levin, or?
And are you about to release a coin?
No, I am absolutely not. No, I'm not going to do the predictable thing of releasing a coin, which pretty much everyone's doing right now.
Cool. Not the number nine, where Google.
Are you more active of doing your daily duties during the day or at night?
During the day.
Okay, cool. So you're not a vampire. Sweet.
No, I'm not a vampire, and I'm not a Jack Levin just yet.
Hilarious. No, but yeah. So as I said, I saw you on Adam Stokes' Crypto Campfire, and you were talking about the book that you've released and written, which is the big part of that. That's awesome. So congratulations. Yeah, you were talking. So it's titled "The Essential Guide to Blockchain Platforms."
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's right.
About it.
Yeah, so basically, and I can get on to the context of PulseChain in the book as well. But on a high level, thank you. So on a high level, before we get into the PulseChain side of it, was that I couldn't find a book that covered different blockchains all together in one sort of comprehensive guide, right? There's Bitcoin books, there's Ethereum books, there's a book on maybe Algorand or Solana, but there was no book that covered different blockchains comparatively altogether. Now, so I've been researching all sorts of different blockchains for years. PulseChain actually was a heavy focus of all of those chains. And I just thought, well, I've got the knowledge. I've been researching these things for years. I'll just brain dump it in a book and, have a comparative guide that people can read so that they can make educated decisions from the tech and the tokenomics. It covers both in the book. Because what I find, guys, is that a lot of people out there, they make decisions on a whim. They make decisions because someone else says, oh, you should get into this. Oh, you should get into this new shiny object. And, have you had a look at this? And you should get in. And people get into this stuff and they don't really know a huge amount about it, right? So what I thought I'd do is, well, if I can write a book that at least educates people where all the information is in one place, they don't have to search through 20 odd videos to piece it all together. Because that's what I had to do for PulseChain, for example. At the time I had to piece through many videos and links to really get an understanding of it all, and Hex as well. And so I thought, well, if I can bring all the information together in one place, you've got the tech and it's not too overwhelming, doesn't go into code or maths or anything like that. It's just nice, colorful, architecture diagrams of, how proof of stake works and how the architecture works for, say, IPFS in PulseChain and things like that.
Oh, wow.
Not too overwhelming. And it's got the tokenomics in there, and you can then compare it against other chains, right? So now you can actually say, okay, well, I like this particular project for this reason, rather than just saying, well, I like this particular project because, this guy told me it's great and, I read a bit about it and I got into it, but I didn't really research anything else. So this, it's like a 300-page book. All the information is in one place. And further to that, I put the PulseChain chapter in there because I thought that was particularly critical for PulseChain, because PulseChain doesn't have a white paper to start. And I get it. Not everyone reads white papers, right? But, I have had a few people say to me, well, Ross, I don't know. I can't seem to find all the information about PulseChain. Where's the white paper, or where is there a site where there's everything all in one place that I can get hold of?
Yeah.
And so what I thought was, well, let me just put, a PulseChain chapter in there. I mean, it's a big investment of mine, PulseChain anyway, where people can read it and understand it as a newcomer, right? I don't think people who are into PulseChain are going to learn anything new from this. It's more for people who have an interest in blockchain, in cryptocurrency, who are going to read this book, and then they'll hit the PulseChain chapter and they might go, oh, oh, this is interesting. Oh, I like this game theory. Oh, it's doing IPFS. Oh, it's got 50,000 validators. Oh, wow, that's pretty cool. You know, oh, that's a bit of a standout compared to the others, right? So, obviously, I didn't write the book just for PulseChain, but I believe that there's some interesting chapters in there or projects in there that people can discover, and people can make up their own mind, right?
Sure.
I firmly believe that anyone with their head screwed on and savvy enough would read the PulseChain chapter and go, oh, well, that's quite a standout. So I hope that to some degree, although it is quite theoretical, that people will read it and it might help to spread a bit more awareness of PulseChain, right? Because it's in a book amongst other, about 9 other blockchains. It's about 10 blockchains covered in the book in reasonable detail. So that was the idea of it, right? And then they can really compare it and go, okay, well, PulseChain stands out for this reason. I now know why I'm investing in PulseChain, or why the PulseChain tech is a standout, right? Why it's decentralized, why it's open. So, yeah, that was the thought behind it all.
That's great. I think awesome. I actually think it's good that you've got a basis of other blockchains on there, because it's like certain streamers that are out there, or influencers on Twitter or whatever that talk about certain things. If they've got a broader market, it's actually going to bring more eyes in, rather than if you're just focused on the one, hyper focused on just PulseChain. People are going to have their not everyone has their blinkers on, like 43 and Dozer and myself, and we're just watching mainly PulseChain stuff. So you're not going to get everyone in. So I think that's great that it's sort of there for everyone to be able to see. So what blockchains do you talk about in the book?
Yeah, so I talk about, it starts with Bitcoin. It's like an evolution, essentially, from, Bitcoin to the latest and greatest, cool, funky chains out there, essentially. So it starts with Bitcoin. It goes through a couple of other proof of work chains like Casper and Cadena. And then there's Ethereum. There's Algorand, Say. So it's got some nice emerging chains in there, like Say, BitTensor, PulseChain, and another interesting blockchain called Saito, Saito. So there's some really, I was quite surprised actually with some of those projects I wrote about, and I follow the PulseChain community more than any other community. I think it's just a great community. So I'm not following any other communities on YouTube. I am a little bit more now on X, some of the other communities, but on YouTube over the last 3 years, I've been following PulseChain primarily, the community and what they're doing. So actually the PulseChain chapter, I could pretty much write off the top of my head. Which was cool. Yeah.
Awesome.
All the other chapters I had to refer to the white papers and stuff to piece it all together, which I hope I've done, a good enough job at. But there's some really interesting, chapters in there that I just, when I was writing, I thought, oh, that could be a bit of a dark horse. That could be quite interesting. So I hope there's some nice insights in there, but I do believe that there are some standouts. I believe that PulseChain is definitely one of them. It's, well, in terms of a game theory perspective, it's still for me the standout in terms of the game theory. Absolutely. There's some very interesting tech in there with some of those emerging blockchains. I believe PulseChain is very much still a standout, especially with things like the advent of IPFS that is implementing, the fact that it has 50,000 validators, incredibly decentralized. There's not another blockchain that I know that has more except Ethereum. So there's some really interesting stuff in there that I discovered, and I hope other people discover as well, and then they can make up their own mind. Yeah.
Ross, can I ask you a question? Where is this book available? Where can people find it?
Sure. It's on Amazon and it's also on Google Books. It's just the Kindle version at the moment. The physical version will take another couple of months because I'm having to reformat a whole bunch of stuff for the physical version. So that'll be about another couple of months. But the Kindle version is there. You don't have to have a Kindle device, by the way. You can just download the Kindle app for free on your phone or your tablet, and you can just then download the book. I've already tried that. So you don't need an actual Kindle device. The problem with the Kindle device itself is it's all black and white, so it's not as colorful, of course. The the diagrams are all nice and pretty and colorful. So in a sense, I prefer it on a phone or tablet, but it's probably not so nice on the eyes. That's what the whole Kindle market is for. So, but yeah, it's in Kindle format. Another couple of months probably for the physical version, and also on Google Books in sort of a PDF flipbook format as well. So
awesome, man.
That's
that's really cool.
That is absolutely fantastic. Guys, I actually have to duck out. But Ross,
cool.
it's been great finding out about this book. Well, that's fantastic. I need to have a look at it. And thank you to True Blue and Dozer for having me on this week. And I'll see you guys next time.
Yeah. Cheers, man.
Thanks, 43. Have a good weekend, mate.
See you, man.
That's really interesting, Ross, the way you were talking about how PulseChain might stand out from some of the other chains. And it got me thinking a couple of things. I mean, PulseChain's actually got a higher Nakamoto coefficient than Ethereum in terms of decentralization and things like that. And I really think that we have this ethos of the freedom of speech, which seems to be inherent with PulseChain and the RH tickers, because the sacrifice for PulseChain was about freedom of speech and then the freedom of movement, and then the way that we've got it sort of set up, it's like we've got the hex being the vehicle of savings, like the freedom to save, and then the freedom to transact with PulseX, and then the freedom of speech was like literally writing to the blockchain with PulseChain. And the fact that it is permissionless and sort of not censorable, I think gives it stands us aside from some of the more centralized chains, and particularly L2s. So where I was going with this, like a little bit long-winded, but in this post with Vitalik, he was saying that next year he's only going to publicly mention L2s that are at stage 1+. So, and I sort of thought, oh, that's interesting. Why is he not talking about any of the other L2s? And Ivan on Tech was actually going through all these different L2s, and I didn't realize, but Base is actually at stage 0. So their proof system is still under development, and users' withdrawals can be censored by the permissioned operators. Upgrades executed by actors with more centralized control than a security council provide less than 7 days for users to exit if the permissioned operator is downed or censoring. So there's things like that where you go, okay, so Vitalik is now not going to talk about any L2s that are not sufficiently decentralized. And as it turns out, a lot of these L2s are still at stage 0, where they can have censored transactions, like and have too much centralization with their sequences or whatever it may be. So it's interesting because if you look at these ones, like say Base, which is obviously massive, Blast, Scroll, none of these, ZK Sync, Linear, Starknet, which is Erica Wall's baby. None of these things are sufficiently decentralized enough even for Vitalik to even mention them.
It's amazing.
Well, that's right. I mean, Richard Hart, I think, mentioned, a couple of years back, didn't he, that how would PulseChain scale? Well, we might scale it horizontally, I think he said. We just create another parallel chain that, it's going to be horizontal scaling. I don't think he was a big fan of L2s either, was he?
Well, so that was the example of, well, what happens if the price of Pulse goes so high that the gas makes PulseChain unusable because then it's as bad as Ethereum, And then in that instance, he said, well, that's kind of a good problem to have, because in that situation, everyone who's invested in PulseChain is now filthy rich. And then what we have to fork it and then start again and then drop it down by another million X, the supply. Fine, we'll do that. We'll run it back.
Yeah.
And just go again.
That's it. Yeah. He loves the horizontal scaling. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look, I like the idea of L2s. I like the concept of it, but as you say, it has to be decentralized. I like the idea in theory, because then you don't necessarily disrupt the base layer. I mean, I've got a background in IT, not blockchain IT, but I have a background in IT and worked on sort of other foundational platforms in the past, and I can get the idea of not introducing new bugs in the foundational layer or the consensus layer. So what you would do is you keep the foundation very secure, almost like the Bitcoin approach at its very extreme, right? You don't really touch the Bitcoin foundation very much, and to scale it and build the funky features, you put all that on the L2. So I get the idea. But as you say, if it becomes a centralized approach, then that's not good either, right? It defeats the whole object, right? So that's where the horizontal scaling theory comes in. And I talk about this in my book as well, this whole horizontal scaling versus layer 2 scaling.
Right.
I get both approaches. Yeah.
So it's the connection between the L2 and the Ethereum main that is not decentralized. And that's the problem.
That's right. Yeah.
It opens it up effectively for like users withdrawals to be censored by permissioned operators. So that's something that PulseChain doesn't have. Basically anyone can become a validator, and it's almost, I think it would be almost impossible to shut it down. Literally,
yeah, I agree,
Yeah.
and I think that's amazing. How decentralized we are, and even coming into like we were saying before about Starlink, and that there's people I've heard running validators on Starlink, basically in a mobile type fashion, out in the middle of nowhere. It's it's bloody awesome. So
just very quickly, what I like about PulseChain is the incentive mechanism. I think you need a good incentive mechanism for a platform, and PulseChain is very cheap to set up a validator, right? Because of the price of Pulse. You're talking what, $2K to set up a validator at the moment, or something like that, compared to Ethereum, which might be 100K to set up a Pulse. We're staking 32 ETH for a validator on Ethereum. Well, good luck with that, right? So
$1,200.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Well, no wonder there's 50,000 validators on PulseChain, right? You need that incentive mechanism there to keep it and make it decentralized. And I think PulseChain has a very good incentive mechanism, and that's key to any blockchain. You need a good incentive mechanism to make it decentralized and hopefully scalable in the end and secure. Yeah.
And I think history will look kindly on people who sort of championed the freedom of speech and things like that. So it's now almost the zeitgeist that we have at the moment, where it's like everyone has to respect everyone's feelings, and you can't say certain things. And I think that this is temporary, and I think overall, hopefully we'll go back to normalcy, the normalcy where the right for free speech is protected. And I think that's something that Richard Hart has really been a huge proponent of. So hopefully, in the future, people will start to, recognize PulseChain for those reasons.
Yeah,
for sure. Hey, it sounds like your book is a little bit about like how our streams go. We start off, on the core stuff, like, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Hex, and then we just slowly get more degen as it goes along. So I'm not saying anything about, those coins being too degen or those chains, but it's cool how you've got the diversity in there. What else? Is there anything in particular that, you wanted to share with us about the PulseChain side of the book, in regards to, got any, besides what you've already said, I guess?
So I mean, just to recap, so it basically does talk, you see, the book is about blockchain platforms. It is about layer 1 platforms. So it does touch a little bit on layer 2s. Mainly it's a layer 1 blockchain platform book, right? And the good thing about that is it means it doesn't get out of date too quickly. Unlike, if you cover layer 2s and other apps, you're going to get out of date very quickly. So there was a bit of thought into it. But so with PulseChain, I do discuss a little bit about Hex, though. I mean, you can't avoid that, right? Because PulseChain was created for the exact reason, because Hex was becoming unusable on Ethereum, right? So there's a bit of history in there about Hex, right? So I had to try and describe it, from someone who's a newcomer who hasn't, read anything about Hex before. So there's an introduction to Hex in there and some nice little analogies of, getting yield and certificate of deposit and just trying to keep things at a level that are digestible. I don't go into T-shares or anything like that. It's just an introduction to Hex and how Hex works and why the move to PulseChain. So that's all discussed in there, the history. It talks about the incentive mechanism that PulseChain has, the cheap cost to set up validators, the fact that it's very decentralized. I've got IPFS architecture diagrams in there. I've also got like a little image of like what the PulseX website or would look like, with the IPFS button there, the IPFS gateway, and I talk about the comparison against running it on your own machine and all that lot, which is quite a standout, right, compared to other chains. There is a heavy emphasis as well on the game theory, right, because so unlike the other chapters, there is a lot of emphasis in the PulseChain chapter on the game theory, right, because I think that's a huge selling point for PulseChain. So it does talk about the buy and burn in PulseX and how that works. It's got a nice little colorful diagram in there on how that works. There's a heavy emphasis on the tokenomics and the game theory, because a lot of it in terms of the technical side was already covered in the Ethereum chapter, right? So validators and epochs and all this kind of stuff. So some of it is rehashed in the PulseChain chapter a little bit, but a lot of the technical stuff was already discussed in the Ethereum chapter, so I didn't yet make it too repetitive. So I did place quite a heavy emphasis in the PulseChain chapter on the game theory, but it does have architecture diagrams as well in there on the PulseChain chapter. So I think it covers it pretty well. I think it covers everything that it needs to cover, and I think it's pretty up to date. And I've got some references in there to some other sites where you can find out more about PulseChain.
Yep.
And
that's awesome.
To date, if there's an update that I do to the book, I can add those in.
Question here from Crypto Class. Do you talk about Richo in the book, Richard Hart?
Great question. Yes. No, I don't really. I mentioned that he's the founder of Hex and PulseChain. Yeah, I mentioned in the introduction that he's a founder. I don't talk about Richard or any controversies there. I didn't want to bring any extra noise into it, right? I just thought I'll keep it neutral. Yeah, I acknowledged it was created by Richard Hart. I mentioned that in the chapter, but I didn't mention anything about him. I stuck to the product. I stuck to the technology. I made the focus just to keep it as neutral as possible, because I want to encourage people to understand the tech and appreciate the tech for what it is and understand the Hex product, right? Any other stuff with Richard Hart and any other controversies and whether you like that or not, I didn't bring any of that into it. I didn't talk anything about the Howey test and other things like that, right? It's literally, this is the tech.
Keep it simple. Keep it simple. Yeah.
Absolutely. And this is how it works. And I think really that's the way people should approach it. I think some of the problem with PulseChain and Hex and from outside of the community is that they don't like Richard Hart, right? Or they don't like him, or you kind of love him or you hate him, really, don't you? Right? So for me, I would say block that out. Look at the product, right? Look at what Hex does. Look at what the software does, right? Look at what the smart contract does. Look at what PulseChain does as the tech, right? If you don't like Richard Hart, well, okay, right? Doesn't matter. You're probably not going to have a beer with him. You're not going to probably meet him anyway. So it doesn't, I mean, for me, people can have their own opinions about that, but I would just stick to, what the tech does. And if you want to invest in it and learn more about it, then, right, all the information's there.
Yeah. I think it's a good way to do it because there's all of this that's gone on recently, the SEC and all that sort of stuff. In 5 or 10 years, that's going to be like zooming out to the start of the Bitcoin chart, or whatever you want to say. It's like it's going to be a speed bump in the road, and I'm feeling like we're going to have a positive result, and get through this. And either way, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter because the book is about the blockchain, and the blockchain is going to keep going anyway, whether something bad happens with him or not. So he founded it, and that's about it. There's the blockchain is not his anyway. So
that's exactly it. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that point. Actually, yes, I missed that point. That's a very good point. The way you put it there. That's also the reason why I didn't want to, mention him or mention his emphasis or on, because it's a decentralized blockchain, right? It shouldn't matter whether he's around or not. The blockchain keeps going as it has been, right? I mean, he hasn't streamed for a long time or very little, right, over the last couple of years, but Hex is still 100% uptime, right? The PulseChain is running very solid since launch. So that is the way I want people to view it. Yeah.
And that's the idea, right? That's intentional. That he's obviously structured it in such a way that he doesn't need to be a part of it. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. It's good. And then when they get more into it and they jump on YouTube or Twitter, they can find out about his big PP and they can find out about his handbags and, all the good stuff. Then you've just given the basis. So
I have to say, when I first researched Hex and PulseChain, I wasn't the biggest fan of Richard Hart from a first impressions, but then as I watched him more, I really began to see what this guy was onto, and I think he's just someone that you need to see through a bit more and see what he's about. And I think it took me a few streams to warm to him, and then I shared it with a few other people, and they go, "Oh, I like this guy. He just calls a spade a spade. He just calls it for what it, And it might take a bit of time, but I think as you watch him more, you really get to see what he's onto, and that's what I like about him. Yeah,
he really
understands the tech. I think that's the part that people sort of forget, is that he was one of the guys that was proposing that the Bitcoin block space should have been, was it larger? I think he was trying to say, and they were doing proposals and all this sort of stuff, and it didn't end up going the way that he thought it should. But he was right there the whole time, with these early OGs. So he has got a lot of respect, I think, from a technical point of view. And then he sort of played the clown a little bit, so then for attention. So then fair enough, people are going to be polarized by that as well.
The attention was probably needed to get I think we'll see in the next year or so that attention was needed to get crypto to the next stage, which to actually get eyes on it. Like, I know it sounds silly with the whole him being a clown and, dressing up and being a bit of a knob, but he needed to get their eyes on him to get through this next section of the case and stuff like that. That's my belief. Yeah.
Well, better in a bear market, at least. That's why I reckon.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I know I want to get to some comments and then we'll do some charts quickly, Dozer. But
sure, yeah.
You mentioned something when I heard you last speak. If you wouldn't mind saying it again about why you think Hex staking is so much better than staking any other tokens, on any other chains, and just the security behind that. I thought it was a really interesting take, and you said it so well. So.
Well, thank you for that. Yeah, I can just recap that again. So what I said on the Adam Stokes stream the other night was, I don't lock up or do any interaction in general with any smart contracts except Hex. Now, the reason for that is that when you do anything like borrowing, lending, or providing liquidity or staking your tokens, you're taking smart contract risk, right? And the problem with that is that when you take smart contract risk, essentially what that means is that someone who hacks into that smart contract puts your tokens at severe risk of being taken, essentially, right? Yep. So now people might then say, well, Hex isn't a smart contract, right? So what's the difference? Well, there's two big differences I see with Hex, which is the which is why I only lock my tokens in Hex, and I'm not prepared to lock it in anything else. And the two big things there is that with Hex, it's a finished product, it's immutable code, all in one smart contract, right? So point number one is that there's no upgrades to it, so there's no dangers of any new vulnerabilities creeping in, right?
Yeah.
So that point number one makes it very secure. That's a very good start. The second one, which I think is really, and if not more important, is the fact that when you stake Hex, your tokens are temporarily burned, right? They are not, and then they're reminted with the yield when you end that stake. And the reason why that is so important is if anyone hacks the Hex smart contract, they're not going to get your Hex, right? Because your Hex is burned. They can't take your Hex, right?
Absolutely.
And that was a massive, massive win for me. You know, I think it's absolutely genius. Now, I'm not aware of other, staking mechanisms or locking mechanisms that do that, right? If you stake ETH or anything, or you provide liquidity in a pool and that pool is hacked, your tokens are at risk, right? So, with Hex, it's a super secure smart contract. And I'm not saying that smart contract risk is really, really high, but I think what a lot of people don't get or are not aware
it's non-zero. It's non-zero.
Right? Yes. Right. So, if you just hold the tokens in your wallet, okay, you could, someone could get hold of your C phrase, but apart from that, they're pretty safe, right? But the minute you get engaged with smart contracts to do all these other fancy stuff to get yield and that, look, you have to be aware that you're taking smart contract risk. And as long as you're aware of that, that's okay. I'm just not sure everyone is, right?
This is a really interesting point. Sorry to interrupt.
Sure.
It's just because True Blue, you asked me before about Titan X and Dragon X and this stuff, and we've been seeing some big candles and all this sort of stuff. Yeah, sure, that's great, and congratulations for people who have doing well off it. But when I saw this was a Cryptographics, which I think he's a nice guy and seems to be quite giving lots of information. But I looked at this because I was like, what's this Hydra thing that's coming out? And I was that's a lot. This is like PGIF territory of like complexity, and there was, so this is Hydra flowchart. I mean, you can look at these things. This is Hyper, slightly different version of the same thing. And I'm like, oh man, there's a lot of contract interaction going on here, and it made me think of this, which is the Rube Goldberg thing. And this is a harsh shot, so don't come at me, Dragon X pros. But it's that, the Rube Goldberg self-operating napkin where you kind of going, there has to be almost a sink somewhere in here where it's not just generating yield from nowhere. Like it, you get, if there's inflation, there's something there. And obviously I'm a novice. I don't know anything about it. So I'm not pretending to like I do know anything about it. And there's probably, a whole bunch of good reasons why it might do well. But when it does badly, then all of a sudden you'd be like, hang on, whatever happened to that hyper buy and burn, whatever it was, I thought that was gonna, because like these things, they all go up, they all go down. Like you got to understand, the markets do what the markets do. Nothing is, these things aren't perpetual motion machines. Like there is a sink somewhere and someone's going to be selling off something to be extracting value. So just be mindful of that. And of course, in doing all of this, you expose yourself to contract risk as well. So that's what you're talking about, Ross, where you're sort of saying, it's almost the chasing, pennies in front of freight chains where you're sort of trying to get yield in some slightly dodgy protocol. It could end up losing the lot.
Yeah,
exactly.
And so, I love, your way of saying all of that, Ross, and I'm gonna use that in the future. I hope that's okay, because I think it's just such a good way of explaining it to others. And just to clarify to some people, we're talking about security earlier, where we're not talking about the risk of someone getting into your wallet and EESing your stakes. We're talking about the smart contract risk of actually giving your coins to someone else or to another contract to hold while you get yield or something like that. And we've seen we've seen things recently. Clintron's mentioned about 9mm, but there's been other ones. So we're not just bringing that up because of that one. There's been a few already,
or whatever.
I mean, there's been
lots of examples of it
in massive scale, but then saying that it's not, that common or whatever. It's actually, we've had probably 3 or 4 already in PulseChain of, over hundreds of thousands, being taken out, or, massive amounts, even bigger. So it's pretty common now, because there's that many smart contracts. People are just pulling stuff out of everywhere. And even if it says it's audited or something, you don't really spend enough time looking into it and seeing, did they fix it after the audit, or, did something else get changed? So Hex is proven that it's been proven for how many years now that has not happened. There hasn't been an issue with the smart contract side.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well said, True Blue. I think, and if you are going to dabble with these things, then do it with a percentage of your bag. You know what I mean? Like if you
on another wallet,
on separate wallets, like whatever. But it's like, hardware wallets are always a good idea, but it's just like, connecting to strange apps and things like that. You unless you really trust and then that word trust comes into it. It's meant to be trustless yield. You're not meant to be relying on the devs. And look, in all fairness, I think in some of these cases it hasn't been malicious. It seemed to me like the 9mm thing was a genuine accident, and then it looks like that dev A guy is trying to make it right by doing airdrops or whatever. So it can be unintentional as well. It doesn't have to be malicious. It can just be, code is hard.
But I drill on those 2 points in my book as well, True Blue and Dozza. So I make those 2 points very clear in the book as to why, the Hex smart contract is ultra secure. It's just education, really. I just think people are not educated on this, right? And they think they can get all this yield and do this, and I just wouldn't want to put any Ethereum in a smart contract, let alone 32 ETH. And then, you can join pools or whatnot, or you can delegate your stake on other platforms, but then you get slashing and penalty risks, and, or you can go and put it on an exchange, but then, then you're handing your keys to someone else. So there just doesn't seem to be any other good solution except Hex. Hex is the only good
and
solution,
self-custody.
I think, for locking your coins.
And self-custody as well. Keeping it up
exactly,
exchanges where possible.
Exactly. Yep. No, it's all good stuff. And I think we should do a security type segment at one stage soon. And I saw someone, I think Clintron's talking about Jex's Bradshaw Knox. Basically
100%.
Business that's all about security. We should get Jexa and 43 on, and we'll do a bit of that. So that'll be great. I just wanted to just quickly touch on the chat there, because it's always good to have them involved, and then we'll do some charting quickly.
I'll also just shout out Jex's Bradshaw Knox, because the seed vault thing is awesome. You can get you stamp your seed in a bit of metal. I think that's really good. I think a lot of people do that. So another thing, there's another way, like apart from that, if you want to do it on the slightly cheaper side, you can we'll go into that another time more, but you can get the old washers and stamps, and then you get a whole heap of washers and stamp your seed, one letter on each washer or something like that, and then you can bolt them together, and away you go. And you can actually get jigs for that are really cheap as well. So another good way of doing it. But some people like to use much different types of metals or whatever. It's boring but essential. It's not the best thing to talk about on stream, though. You got to admit, like, people
it's boring.
Just get a pillow,
and that's why you can see what's happened recently with the prices and stuff. And Hex is boring as heck. It is not very entertaining to sit there. You don't get to click buttons like 43 says. He's not a click monkey. He doesn't want to sit there just pressing buttons all the time. And that's where things go wrong. Hex is so boring, but you put it away and there we go. It's just
until it isn't, man. When Hex starts pumping, then there's nothing.
That's right.
Like
until
it.
the price action starts. That's right. Yeah.
And then it's like, hold on to your hats.
Exactly.
Hold on to
That's
your butts.
100%. We got.
Do you want
Condor.
to? Oh yeah, go through the chat for sure. That Condor guy looks like a new guy.
I haven't seen Condor in here before, but he's saying much love going out to us. So yeah, thank you so much for your kind words and for being here for the stream. Yeah, so good. Klaz is saying about Kamala, I think there about being slurred. You know, she didn't seem so slurred on that presidential debate. So there's,
I know. I was like, wow, she's really well spoken. She's like, really, has she got the questions ahead of time or something? Because she was nailing those responses.
Crazy. It's almost like someone was talking to her.
Yeah, that's what I said to you. I was like, it's almost as if she had an earpiece, and then you're like, bruh, check this out. And they had the pearl earring with the mic on it. I'm like, with the speaker or whatever.
Yeah.
The earpiece.
Pretty dodgy.
Like, oh, that makes her an actual puppet. If that's the case, like
if
not
that
just
is
like
real,
figuratively, you know, like a metaphoric puppet. But if someone is literally speaking in your ear and you're repeating those words verbatim, you are a puppet.
Absolutely. And
the other thing is just on that point, you know, even though her words were great, you know, what it really comes down to is getting stuff done. And for me, I trust that Trump is someone who's going to get stuff done. For all her nice words, words are nice.
Well, I mean, some of the things she said,
stuff done?
Look, some of the things she said were quite reasonable, and like I'm only just having a go at the earpiece fact more than anything, because I don't think Trump had an earpiece. He was just shooting from the hip. But yeah, some of the things, but there was definitely some contradictions going on as well. Like I noticed that she started to get real serious about body autonomy and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, that's interesting, because the whole vaccinations thing, everyone wasn't, you know, huge on body autonomy back then, but now all of a sudden you are. Like, and I'm not talking about you know, my position on that, but it's just the double standard, you know. I was like going, hang on a tick.
I agree, and I really think a lot of people didn't like what Trump was saying with that, you know, why don't you just go and do it now? Like, go down there now and get these things done. But I think that is just so true. It's like, why are you bringing that to the table? Like, you're going to do that if you get elected. It's like, why aren't you doing it now?
Just do it now.
Is that not going to hold you in the house? Is that not going to keep your position if they see you actively doing the things that you're talking about? That's, you know, that's 101 crazy. Is just if you put it into action, you know, people can see the result. Simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you see comment there from Somi?
Oh, far out. I didn't see that. Yeah.
There you go. Great to see you, fam. Median Q4 return for Bitcoin in election year is plus 56%. That median puts BTC at 90K by end of December. Hopefully it's a sign of 2025 friendship ahead.
Very cool.
Thanks, Somi, for your comments and your insights. I've been watching a lot of Somi lately. And he's really been keeping me sane, I think, during the bear market. Yeah.
I think so. And I would agree with that. Everything you said there with, and you know, the 90K by the end of December. I think it was probably about 4 or 5 months ago. I met with someone for tea that we had on the Sydney meetup. And yeah, we were discussing it, and they asked me, you know, when do I think, and you know, what sort of price? And I was thinking close to 100K by the end of the year. You know,
well, bro,
December,
that lines up, man. That lines up. Like, if you know, I've talked about this where that 3-year mark from the all-time high, 3-year mark. So 11th of November, it should be breaching the all-time high again. So that's like 69K, 70K by, you know, early November. So that sort of puts it on track for 90K sort of Santa rally.
Yeah.
And at the moment, you know, this 58K mark, I think, is a real psychological level.
Yeah.
So these are weekly closes. It supported the 58K, supported it like 1, 2, 3, 4 times, and then it broke below it and we went down, and then now it's getting rejected off it. So that support has become resistance at 58K. And interestingly enough, we talked about this last week, 43, where you said, I wonder where do I think it could go down to?
Yeah.
And I was sort of saying, well, there's support here at 52 or just above. And then I was saying that this like last line of support here was at 54, otherwise it would make a lower low. Yeah. And then so what did it do? It wicked right down to 52, but it never closed below that 54. It literally didn't make a lower low.
Wow.
I don't know if you can see that.
Very good. Yeah.
Sat on those candles.
So good. Yeah.
And,
You're spot on with
we were saying that last week, like if I would be concerned if it made a lower low. It's like, it seems like there was a few other people out there that may have been concerned it would make, so that close was crucial.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it just bounced off that support, and now it's getting rejected off a higher time frame resistance. So it's sort of range bound, I would say, at this point between the 54 and 58. But if we can bust through that 58 and start, making the journey towards the 70K by November. But yeah, I think there's a few things going on because we've obviously got the interest rate cut coming on Wednesday, the 18th, and then the presidential election and things like that. So there's a few things that could increase volatility over the next couple of months. Yeah. And also with the Richard Hart sort of ecosystem, I guess the trial at the end of October, I speculated that quite some time ago that what tends to happen with these sell the news events is that sometimes it's so bearish that, people kind of, they have this shared zeitgeist that it's going to go down. It's going to dump. Like it's going to be a sell the news event. That whales will actually pump it right up before that event, and then it will bleed into the news event.
Yeah,
and then it's like anything can happen. But it puts a lot of people offside because they're like thinking, "Oh, this sell the news event is 100% locked in, coming up." And then the price pumps, and they're all on the sidelines, and then they FOMO in. But by the time they pump it up, that's when the original guys dump it and will bleed out. So I've seen that play out a few times now.
Yep, exactly. Yep. I wonder, if that's what's happening at the moment with a bit of a, leading up to a sell the news type thing coming up for the RH ecosystem or not. I don't want to say buy the rumor because, it's not a rumor and it's been known for a long time.
It's just a date.
Yeah.
It's an event. And when you have these events and these dates, depending on what it is, the sentiment, sometimes the whales like to do the opposite and then to catch people off. And, so whale games are a thing. That's all I'm saying.
I definitely wouldn't say that the RH date is priced in. I don't think we can guess if that's where the price is going to be for that, because there could be so many things between now and then. We could get deployment of Ethereum into PulseChain. We could get absolutely anything. People could just start dumping.
Well, the problem is also the adjudication could be sometime after the actual trial. So
exactly,
it could be a bit of a boil over event where there's a non-event, like a null event that happens.
That's right.
I was just going to say just briefly, because I've got to go as well, but it looks like on the 4-hour, Pulse is making another run at this resistance line.
Sweet.
So it definitely got rejected off. I don't even know what this line was from something way back. And then it's obviously acted as resistance back in August, got rejected off it. And then now it's just got rejected off it again, but it's looking like it might be trying to bust through. So if we can bust through, retest it, then that's go time.
Or before the EMA catches up, hey? Stay above that.
Yeah, so I mean, we busted above the 20 SMA, the 20-day SMA. Like if I go onto the dailies, yeah, I mean, we closed above it and then just right below it, and then just that's like a engulfing candle.
Yeah.
So that was bullish. I mean, that was like yesterday.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm big Kev excited. If you know that reference, it's an old Aussie ad.
Yeah,
But
that's it.
the last thing I just wanted to say about I just wanted to quickly check the Wrapped ETH, Wrapped Pulse. So it looks like in the top here, I can see the Grays currencies up 10%, Teddy Bear 10. I am Fruits. That's probably a scam.
Yeah. That's
Solid
the
X is up.
Tangang one that just got
What,
launched.
sorry?
Tangang one that they just launched, I'm pretty sure.
Ah, okay. Well, if
It's
it's
Fruit.
Tangang official, then
'Cause-
maybe, but
Yeah, the Fruit token, I reckon it's paired with that because that went up like 100% or something almost.
oh, okay.
Fruit, what is it? Fruit Rat or something like that? One of those.
Yes, there's
Yeah.
a bunch of those. Yeah. So I just wanted to quickly talk about this Pulse ETH ratio.
Yeah.
So we were in this channel
Yeah.
for some time, which was good for yield farming with a low impermanent loss. And we've certainly busted through it. So Pulse is outperforming ETH the last couple of days, and we're busting out of this channel. I mean, it did it before, and it came back down. So
could it be the end of the trend?
Keep an eye on that. But if it is the end of the trend, then yeah, people might be starting to rotate some ETH into Pulse as well. Because like at this point, there's no, like if you've got ETH and you've got Pulse and you put them in a yield farm, then it doesn't matter because they're going sideways with respect to each other and you're earning ink. But if Pulse starts to outperform, it's a different equation. You might want to start putting your ETH into Pulse. So let's see if that sort of feedback loop works out for us.
Yep. No, that'll be very good. We're it's exciting stuff at the moment, the past few days, and it'll be nice if it keeps going that way. But we're sort of I guess we're used to it at the moment, aren't we? The feeling of being down or seeing the red. So if it comes back for a short time, hey, I think we can cope. These signs are good to show us how much it can pump with so little volume and just such speed is just absolutely crazy.
I think if we're still hitting that 70K by November 11, I'll be stoked. I'll be like, we're on track. No dramas. Like anywhere around that, plus or minus. So then, it's just you got to wait until 2025. Like if you're looking for pico tops, and wait and see. And then you sort of see the rotation as well, because once ETH starts pumping, then the SAC wallets are going to start pumping into PulseChain with a low liquidity. It's going to be what I'm hoping it's going to be, a sight to see for sure.
Exactly. I agree. Going to be good stuff. Yvonne, you're always in here. And even though, you're a bit late on the replay, gang, but so good to see you in here all the time. And she's trying to get us to go up against the ladies, I think, on stream. Are we going to be able to be at the top of that stream, Dozza, or are we going to have to be?
We'll look at Klaz's next comment.
Hierarchy there. Oh, no.
If you have it underneath that one. She's pregnant. She doesn't fit.
Oh, don't say it. That's not nice. Come on.
No. I didn't say it. I'm just saying.
No, she is.
Yeah. She's very pregnant at the moment, so she's not wanting to stream, which is fair enough. And I guess once the baby comes, I'll probably have to start stopping as well. So, but then that opportunity for the next guys to come in and
that's it. That's it. Ross, if you didn't know, Crypto Klaz and Dozza,
that's my wife.
Your wife.
I just figured that one out. Yeah, I just thought otherwise this guy knows a huge amount of information about someone he's not connected to. So I thought, that makes sense. Okay.
That's why they can't stream it in the same time slot, because otherwise they'll be fighting each other for the chair. But that's the first time I've seen you sort of say it in the chats and stuff, Klaz. I haven't brought it up before, but congratulations, I guess, and I think everyone else would be saying the same thing if I go down the chat. So we're excited for you and for you, Dozza. So, but we'll be missing you if that means you'll be away a little bit. But
yeah, thanks, mate. Oh, appreciate that.
Yeah, no, it's cool as. you're onto your third, so you're getting close to catching up to me slowly. So that's very cool.
Yeah, that's,
Yvene, yeah, getting some congrats in there. Blobfish King, thanks for jumping in. I'm just going to run. We're really behind on the chat. Sorry. So, but yeah, Yvane's talking about FOMO and FUD, real emotions. I agree. The FOMO, I'm still getting it. I'm sure OGs still get it. Maybe the Godwale doesn't, judging by the way he seems to do his trades. But yeah, I definitely still get the FOMO when you see it starting to run. It's like, man, should have got in, if only, what could I have done different, all that sort of stuff. So it's crazy.
All in again.
Yeah, that's exactly right. How many times can you do that? Yeah, I don't want to, FUD the Tidenex stuff at all. Everyone can do whatever they want to do. But yeah, it seemed to be a distraction for the PulseChain community, and for people that are, easily diverted, which is good for people, wanting them in on their chain. Who else is in here? Hexadelic. Oh, you already brought that one up. Beers all round. Thank you very much. What's he saying? Richard was called back to his home planet. Yeah, he's back home with ET and just has his X account. Well, there was something about that. I think it was Red Squirrel, or no, it wasn't. It was someone else. But they were saying, he's watching the presidential debate, but they didn't think he watched TV, and he didn't use social media. And so how is he watching the presidential debate if his Twitter says he doesn't watch TV? So interesting stuff. That's about it for new people in the chat. There's so many comments that I'm not going to.
I thought it sounded like from his tweets that RH maybe had a couple of shandies, or a couple of beers maybe.
He was a bit excited. He was pretty joyful and having some fun. So that
when he was tweeting up for spelling, it's the first time I've seen him do like spelling mistakes and just tweeting hard and stuff like that. So
it seemed like
maybe he's having a bit of fun,
Exactly. Yeah, that's good stuff. It was good to see. Yeah, some flowing tweets, and he's been going pretty hard. So bring back the YouTube streams. The day that happens, will be a huge day. Yeah,
very entertaining. Yeah,
that's just going to be so good. But yeah, what do we got? Any last words there, Ross? Thanks for coming on tonight.
Thanks for having me. It's been great.
Nice to meet you. Great for everyone to meet you, and introduction into the community. And so good. And thanks for writing that book. I'm going to have to get it and have a read.
Thank you.
It should be great for people to just find out about us and a bit more detail into how it's all done. So do you have any last
thanks,
words?
Ross. Thanks, Ross, for coming on. Yeah, much appreciated. And it's good to see someone who's articulate about blockchain and knows about this stuff and sort of can educate people and onboard people.
Thank you. Well. Thanks guys for having me on. I mean, it's the first stream I've been on where it's kind of multi-people on the stream. So I haven't been on many streams at all, really. So it's a bit of a new thing for me, this. And my brain's probably already a bit fried now because I'm not used to this kind of streaming. But I'm sure I'll be back for more. We'd love to. Yeah.
That'll be awesome. Cool.
Have some scotch next time. That's the way to do it.
I think I'll certainly need a beer after this. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you've seen many of the other streams, but Dozza was basically he had a carton of beer that he bought for his streams, and he got to the end of that, so he could sort of count how many streams we'd done by how many out of the carton. And so we just got to our 52 streams, so he was almost 2 cartons in or something.
Yeah, we're two cartons deep, and I switched to scotch. So
I love it. Love it. Yeah.
It's so good. Dozza, what do you got to say?
I think our streams go for so long that I actually get drunk and then sober up about halfway through. So you'll probably find the content sort of, I become less articulate and then more articulate towards the end as I sober up. So apologies for that, but it is what it is. Anyway, I hope everyone enjoys their weekend, and peace out. I'll catch us all next week.
Cheers. That's cool. 2 things I've got reminded of on the stream that I want to say is delayed gratification. That's what we're here for. That's what we've sort of been listening to for years now. So I think it's, we've been waiting a long time, and it's looking good towards the end of the year and next year. And something good that came up from Ross's chat was the pennies in front of freight trains. Don't forget that main one, because, you know, this is the time where you want to keep your bags safe, make sure no one else is getting them. You're not getting scammed. You're not in staking pools that you shouldn't be, because everyone's out to get them because we're about to hit the bull market. So as Clive said, enjoy the green. Thanks very much, everyone. And yeah, great having everyone in the chat today. And we'll see you next week.
Very auspicious to have Ross Green on it on a day.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
Yeah, that's right. See, my surname was tailored just for the stream. Yeah,
that's right.
That's awesome. Right. So good. And we're talking about green candles, green dragons in the background, and they're the only green
bulls. It's the green bull. It's the bull.
Oh, green bull and Ross Green. So thanks, everyone. We'll see you next week. Cheers.
See you guys.
No worries. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Thank you.
See you guys.
Bye.